Whenever I tell people that I'm mixed race, I always get very positive responses like, oh, that's really cool, or like, oh, that's really mysterious. They always want to know how it happened. Yeah, which is like, oh, I don't know how to answer that question.
I remember once I told someone that I was Black and Mexican. They're like, oh, that's what that looks like. And I was like, well, no, not always. That was the question I got most often. Like, oh, what are you? Are you like Brazilian? Are you Hawaiian? It's like, I'm not any of those. Well, if you listen, then you don't have to make these silly guesses. Well, because when people look at me, I don't think that immediately they see someone who's mixed. They either see someone who's kind of maybe lighter skinned Black person, or maybe a darker skinned Latino person. I remember the first time I was called the N-word. I was driving, and I didn't see like this bicyclist trying to like cut me off while I was stopped. And so like when I was going forward, he like yelled at me. He said, "Hey, you stupid!" And then he looked at me for a second because he couldn't I think he couldn't figure out what word to call me, and then he called me a nigger. Even though I'm mixed, I know that throughout life people aren't going to care about that. They're going to see one race or the other, and that's all that matters to them. People have this need to categorize things, and you can't fit in both boxes for other people.
I think some people might get offended by the "what are you" question, just because they're probably thinking that people are putting too much into their race, and maybe they want to just be known for who they are as a person.
It's kind of like dogs, like calling them mutts, like equating people who are mixed to dogs, or like because of when slavery was around, and when white people would rape their slaves, and then they'd have like mulatto children. Like that was a big thing. To be a mulatto, it was awful. It was like one of the worst things you could be. When I got admitted into here, I was new to all the Black groups. My aunt, she said, "Oh, so you're going to be Black in college?" And I was like, "Well, I've always been Black. Like I don't know what it means to start being Black." I didn't know how to be Black and Mexican at the same time.
I do sort of feel like I don't necessarily belong, or if I were to belong to a culture, it would be the American culture. Because my grandfather came over when he was like late high school years, and almost immediately like World War II started, and he was put in an internment camp, and it was like very traumatic for him. He obviously doesn't like to talk about it. And when my mom and her sisters were born, he was making a lot of efforts to be very American, kind of like show that they had like cut Japanese ties, and so that these horrible things like wouldn't happen to them. And which is like unfortunate, because now I do feel very disconnected because of that from like Japanese culture. It would be so wonderful to be able to talk to my grandpa about those things, and my grandma, and also just like knowing where you come from is an important thing.
Whenever I'm like surrounded by a bunch of just like my white friends, I always feel like my Asian side is like very strong. I feel like I can't identify with them as much, and I feel like, and then it's kind of different whenever I'm surrounded by like a bunch of Asian friends. I feel like I'm too white for them, so it's kind of hard. I don't know what the balance is, and I never feel like I completely fit into one group or another group, and that I'm just a little different.
Because we're biracial or mixed race, multiracial, it's like you do feel that disconnect because you're kind of forced to feel it from the start.
Since all these things have come up and people are telling stories of how race has kind of affected their lives and how they're treated differently because of it, I've just never noticed until they started saying how they were disadvantaged, how I was probably advantaged.
I just feel like a lot of things are more handed out to me because I look white.
I never had to like deal with that kind of like systemic racism, like that blatant systemic racism, because nobody could tell what I was.
As cultures start to mix, I think understanding will also grow.
Mixed people are becoming like one of the fastest growing populations.
As people combine cultures, they'll learn about them, and it'll just open your eyes to like other people and the fact that, you know, they're different from you, but it's like okay.
I personally think it's important to talk about like race and how the way that the world is sort of affects people of color, especially in like our new political climate. I feel like it's just a topic that people want to avoid just because it's such a serious topic.
There's lots of people who feel like they're going to be marginalized even though they're not going to be, and they think, and they're not thinking about like the people who are going to have it so much worse. Like that, like just talking to people is going to help a lot, especially people who we're close to who don't think the same way that we do, or who don't see the issues the way that they should be seen. But I guess what I mean is like brave spaces for people to come out and like say they're kind of like maybe ignorant stuff, so but like with an open mind to be corrected, to know that maybe what they said was ignorant, so that they have the chance to learn from it.
The recent race struggles have kind of opened my eyes, I guess, but it's very new to me, so I'm still trying to like figure